There we go. Okay. Woo! We solved the issue.
Welcome back to Tactical Edge Virtual Summit. I am Salma Osejo. I'm with Edgar Rojas. Ed, how are you?
Oh, sweating right now. Have some technical difficulties, but I think we're back. I'm looking at the platform, and hopefully we're back.
Yeah.
But I think that we are.
Remember, we are in Terrific Thursday.
That's right, Terrific Thursday, and we're here with we're live. We're here with Tyrone Wilson, and we'll get back to him in a second. First, before we start, I just wanted to say, everyone again, welcome. Thank you for being here with us on this fourth day, starting the that'll be tomorrow. But fourth day afternoon, I want to thank our sponsors, Ativo Networks, CellPoint, Exabeam, and CyberArk. As we keep saying all week, right? We could not do this without their help.
Exactly.
So we really appreciate it. Those are, companies that are showing their leadership and that are allowing us to bring experts like Tyrone here to share their knowledge and their expertise with all of us. Personally, I have learned a bunch this past 4 days, and Tyrone already threw the gauntlet down, and he says, get ready to be wowed. So Salma, tell us about Tyrone.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Tyrone. We are with Tyrone Wilson. Mr. Tyrone Wilson is an information security professional with 24 years of experience in information technology and systems configuration, including information systems and networker security. Wilson also has extensive knowledge in computer network defense, vulnerability assessment, cyber threats analysis, and incident response. As a former cybersecurity analyst for the United States Army, Wilson developed security structures to protect American intelligence systems from foreign threats. Currently, Wilson is the founder and president of Cover6 Solutions, which treats companies and professionals various aspects of information security, penetration testing, and IPv6. Correct? That's correct.
As I told Michael and Mitch, right now you can put in your resume, I've been interviewed by professional Colombian TV presenters. So, dude, that's
yes. Very nice having you here.
Thank you so much for having me, for real. Thank you.
No, it's great. Before we start, I know that last week you were doing something special, or was it this week? You were doing something special with some high school kids, or was it that last week?
Oh, yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, we had our annual summer cyber camp, and last year, because it was in person, we specifically tried to just stay with high school kids and early college enrollees. But this year, because it's virtual, we'll accept anyone that wants to learn right now. We did it a couple of weeks ago for 5 straight days. It was so successful that we decided to do it again. So the last week in August, August 24th through the 28th, check that out. It's called the Summer Cyber Camp, or online, #Summer Cyber Camp, and you'll find it.
Are you still looking for volunteers to help with this
initiative?
Sure.
If if anyone wants to teach a couple sessions, or if they want to speak to the kids or the students, just let me know. Reach out to me, make a connection, and we'll make that happen.
Perfect. Let's make it happen. Let's do this. And another thing that I saw right before coming here, you're gonna be doing something with SANS next week.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Try not to get all emotional too early, but as a young professional, there are some places where you only dream that you can be of and hope that you can be on. The SANS platform is definitely up there for me. We made the SANS. They have a diary with Johannes Ulrich. We made it to there a couple of weeks ago. So, especially as a young professional, young entrepreneur, you have these steps that you, that you want to take. And once you see them all come to fruition, you start to get emotional, but over time you start to accept it.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations. I know you've done a lot of hard work in your career and with your company, and yeah, I'm very honored to have you here. So thank you for accepting my invitation, our invitation to be here.
For sure. Thanks.
Exactly. And we are ready to get surprised.
I'll see what I can do.
With your presentation. Tell us what is about your presentation.
Okay, so today I am going to talk about how to use third-party applications on your mobile device to find information about a person or an organization. It is the early steps to compromise or hacking, and I'm going to show you how attackers use information that you readily put out there to find information about you. Sometimes it can get really deep, sometimes it can get really personal, but attackers don't care, right?
Oh my God.
Are you ready, Salma?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, so Tyrone, the stage is yours. Welcome again to Tactical Edge.
Okay. Let me share my screen really quick.
Yeah.
Here we go. So we're good?
Not yet.
We're ready?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we
That's
go.
right.
Hit that final share button.
Now we got it.
Okay. All right. So again, thank you all for having me, right? We're going to talk about how to use passive reconnaissance to compromise with open source intelligence. By passive reconnaissance, I mean we are able to obtain information about an individual and they have zero idea that we're doing it. For anyone that has a question about my background, it's actually an Invictus poem image that I found, and there's some parts of the poem that resonate with me, specifically the end where they say, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. So I always try to embrace that, help other people embrace that so they can be whatever they want to be. Really quick. All right, I do some pen testing. I do a lot of education of the masses. It is my passion. I feel like that's what I'm here for when it comes to educating the masses. I started Cover 6 Solutions about 6 years ago. The reason why we even started is because in 2012, I started a meetup group called the DC Cybersecurity Professionals. At over 7,000 people, we are the largest cybersecurity meetup group in the country. It helps me give back to the community, allows me to be entrenched in the community, meet a lot of great people, do a lot of great things, and keep the company going as well. For anyone that's trying to get in contact with me, you can find me on just about any platform with the screen name Ty Wilson 21. Before we begin, I have to put the disclaimer out there, right? One of the things that I'm missing from the disclaimer is that it may creep you out, but I want you to embrace that, right? So we are only using these techniques for training only right now, right? Eventually, you will begin to use them in a more professional setting, but just keep in mind that it's just for training purposes. Only target, what you are specifically allowed to. Make sure you get that permission to do that. Don't get yourself sent to jail. I am not telling anyone to do any of this, so don't mention my name. If you do get yourself sent to jail, and have an open mind about all of this, always be willing to share your knowledge with the community. You never know who you could help, right? And the last thing is, like, this presentation will be at a high level, so we may not get specific with the tools or the techniques. Provided we have time towards the end, we may be able to do that, but it's just really high level right now. The setup. Are y'all ready for the setup? I call this the setup because this is how I prepare the group, prepare the room for a lot of my Recon talks. And the way that I do that is I say, hey, everyone, think about all of the strangers that you have talked to this week. Think about all of the strangers that are in the room right now that you have had a conversation with. And now I want you to think, is there enough information out there about you for that stranger to have planned to be sitting there next to you having that conversation, right? There's just some things to think about as time goes on. You know, when people ask you silly things or things that I think are silly, and it totally creeps me out, and it's something simple. Someone will be like, hey, do you know how to get to so-and-so? I hate that, right? Because, you know, it's 2020, you have a phone, you have a map, ask Siri, why are you asking me? So I start looking for devices, I start looking at the glasses, start thinking if they have contact lenses, Bluetooth scanners. I make sure I check my pocket for my wallet. And it's just the smallest things that get me to be a little bit paranoid. Not saying you need to be paranoid, just saying just to be aware. So what we're going to do is I want you all to start treating things as if it's a professional engagement. And with any engagement, you want to ensure that you're using either a proper framework or a methodology. One of my favorites is the PTES, or the Penetration Testing Execution Standard, which has 7 different phases, and every phase is as equally as important as the next, right? And they include the setup, the passive reconnaissance, which we're going to focus on now. Setup is essentially ensuring that you have the proper tools, you tested everything, your software is up to date, things of that nature. Passive recon, our focus is you using tools to identify information on a target, and they have zero idea that you're doing it. For the active recon portion, that typically means that you are on their network. You can be seen, provided that they are using the proper tools, and you are actively engaging their devices to get information. From that point, that information will lead to vulnerabilities. Once you identify vulnerabilities, that normally splits into 2 paths, where defenders will try to mitigate and fix those vulnerabilities, and attackers will attempt to exploit those vulnerabilities. That leads to the exploitation phase. Post-exploitation are things that you would do after you exploit. Maybe you're getting some information, maybe you're creating some ways to have a backdoor and have persistence. Maybe you can get really, really creepy with it, like attackers do, and start listening to people, start recording them, and you can just have that go on for as long as your victim will allow you. And because we're in a professional setting, typically you would want to provide a report to a customer, and in the report, you would want your steps to be repeatable, and you would also want to show value in the report. So why are we doing this, right? Another thing that I like to do is I like to put, you know, shout outs to things that meant something to me in my career. The Sneakers movie was one of them. And, you know, there was a portion in the movie that really stuck out to me where they talk about it's all about the information. And this was nearly 30 years ago, right? So over this time, like, a lot of people understood how important information was. So how do we set up everything, right? We want to think about what our goals and what our missions are. Think about the tools that we're going to need. Think about the accounts that you may want. And once you have all of this set up, then, you know, hack the planet. I mean, don't hack the planet, but, you know, you can do whatever you need to do. So let's talk about the accounts and why we would want these accounts. A lot of people like to be anonymous, especially when it comes to passive recon. And you may have seen these before, right? But oftentimes, I'd say about 90% of the time, a fake profile is created. With your phone, you can use an app like This Person Does Not Exist. And what this app does is it uses artificial intelligence to create a random image of an individual that's not real. Some other cool things about this is that the image only shows once, and the purpose of that is to defeat the Google image search option. And then now you have a profile image that no one can track. Another reason why I actually wanted to do this talk, and I wanted to thank the Tactical Edge crew for motivating me, was in the pen testing environment that I'm in quite often, and the training environment, I'm always asked about automation. So this presentation actually allowed me to see if I can do all of my pen testing or most of my pen testing activities, but from my phone. So another account to consider is a dating app, right? And no, this is not a screenshot of my phone. But the dating apps can help you provide a lot of information about a target. And how do we get a target? You can start by what's close to you. So what you can do, and I know this might be the start of it getting creepy, but what you can do is you set your, I don't want to say target area, but you can set your search area in your app to 1 mile. So everyone that shows up, lives within 1 mile of you, so you don't really have to walk far. The next thing that you can do is you can find someone that has an uncommon name and possibly look that person up in your local white pages. And the white pages, or online, or if you want to use your app white pages, the name may provide you the address to where the person is. And now that you know the address, you can, walk around your neighborhood, jog around your neighborhood in hopes that you can get an idea of where they live, where they drive, because to them, you're just a neighbor exercising. But you are doing recon. Now, I know that is a mix of active and passive because they can see you, but still they have no idea. And you can just start off that way. And there's multiple apps to choose from, and you can actually use a really nice fake profile picture. One of the things about the AI generated images is that you typically don't see people of color in these apps. I don't know why, maybe we're difficult to duplicate, but that's been the experience. The health and fitness apps, Map My Run, there's a lot of individuals that like to ride bikes. There's a lot of apps like MyFitnessPal, where you can identify what people are eating, where people live, how often they work out. Typically, you'll see that where a person starts their run and where a person ends their run is generally where they live. So to take it back, now you have information. Maybe you can transfer the information you found from the dating app to where they live on Map My Run. Maybe you can use a fake profile to become friends with them on Map My Run. You know where they live. This is an example where, a person ran 5.5 miles. They're gone away from their home from an app for an hour. If you start tracking them for a while, maybe you'll notice that every Tuesday and Thursday, they like to go on a 5-mile run. So now you know every Tuesday and Thursday, I have an hour to perform recon either on their home or maybe try to get their Wi-Fi signal, maybe crack the Wi-Fi password. And that leads us to Wi-Fi apps, right? That scan the local area and they will try to identify, there are apps that will identify what the router's SSID name is, what the signal strength is, and what the security is. Maybe, well, not maybe, how do I say this? Typically, you will find someone in your area that has a weak encryption security algorithms for their Wi-Fi devices. You could do that from your phone, your iPad, and as I mentioned, you're exercising. You can fake it a little bit, have it on your arm, run around the neighborhood, come back, take that information from the app. There are apps that will let you overlay that information on a map. So now you have a map of all of the SSIDs in your neighborhood, which leads us to the maps. All right, so there are maps that will show you Earth view, street view, right? So now you can actually use the map to look down on your neighborhood, and from a physical perspective, if you are going to do this, or the way an attacker would do it, is use the map to actually devise their plan of attack or their getaway. So if you know that the street is a cul-de-sac and there's no way out, then that target or that location may not necessarily be your first target, right? Maybe they have a backyard. Maybe, you can see that there's a high fence. Maybe using a map, if it's for an organization, you can see if the individual, sits on the 3rd floor or the 4th floor, right? If you already know that information, then maybe using the map, you can determine where you need to park to get some really good photos of that individual. If they're on the 3rd floor or the 4th floor, maybe using a map, you need to find a local parking garage. So now you are parking on the 3rd or the 4th floor using your really nice camera to look at them and take pictures. One of the things that people often, they don't pay attention to is how their computer screen is facing. Like, it really weirds me out to have my computer screen face outside. So no matter how I have my office set up, my screen will never face the window or never face outside. And that leads us to some live camera feeds. Yes, there are camera feeds all over the world that are readily available to whoever wants them. Maybe you can get lucky and find a camera feed that is in the area or in your target of interest. This image in the middle is New Orleans. Doesn't necessarily have to be New Orleans, but if you are targeting an organization that's in an office building, there just may be a camera nearby that is focused on the entrance of the building. So now you don't need to be in your car on location watching who comes in and out. You can just watch this free camera feed and get all the information you need. There are headphone sets now, Bluetooth now, that are really, really small and tiny. So if you're working in tandem with someone, you can use the camera feed to actually see how live it is. So you can be in one place, you can have a partner or a teammate go on location to where the camera feed is and test, you know, if the camera's live. So you can say, hey, you know, the person that's on site can be like, hey, can you see me with my hand up? How long did it take for you to see that? Was it a 2-second delay, 3-second delay, 5-second delay? Once you identify that, then now you can have someone be a lookout, but they're not even on site. So this is actually a step up from actually using a map. And then we have photo editors. And after this, I'll talk about an article that I never really even thought of, but I thought it was real ingenious. I mean, not ingenious, but real genius and kind of creepy, but it's cool. It happens. I'm just happy that we're aware of it now. Using a photo or video editor, right? There's a lot of things that you can identify from the background of images or the backgrounds of videos or TikTok or Instagram clips that you put online, right? You can record it to your screen, zoom in, and try to identify information that's in the background. And this is happening because attackers are using the high resolution images from, you know, your cameras to get the reflection off of your eyelids that you take when you do a selfie, right? So now it's getting to a point to where you need to be careful where you are taking your selfie, because let's just say you're in the home, you're in your living room and you take a selfie, but the reflection from your selfie is showing, you know, possibly pictures of your family or your high school diploma or, you know, something that you recently bought that is only available in certain parts of the country, or only available in certain parts of the city, right? These little tiny things can give you away, and it gets really, really, really scary to where you don't even want to do anything anymore. So I want you all to think about different scenarios that you have been in recently to where maybe you wanted to identify information about either yourself or someone else, right? For, I guess you could say for training purposes, what you can do is try to get some apps and, or maybe before you even download any apps, try to see what you can identify about yourself with the apps you already have. All right, so think about some tools that you would use on your laptop. See if they have an option for that with your mobile device. And again, I'm not familiar with Android. I've been an Apple guy for quite some time, but there are a lot of apps that will perform most, if not all, of the stages that we mentioned in the PTES. Right, so the recons are definitely there. The passive recon is definitely there. The active recon is definitely there with, you know, just simple things like ping, trace route, looking for specific versions of software, right? That is there. And we haven't even talked about the large social media platforms. Like there's so much information in Twitter. Create an account on Twitter. Twitter's all passive as long as you're using a fake account. And I'm not going to say that individuals can't figure out who you are, but the average person won't be able to identify that. Especially, you know, if you've had these accounts for a while, people will start to feel like your accounts are real, right? Like we have fake accounts on LinkedIn to where people have given us recommendations, right? Like obviously our account is fake, but people still give us recommendations. People still like acknowledge, and it's not even a real account. Maybe they're doing it to have activity on their fake accounts, right? Just something to think about. And then for extra credit, right? I always like to throw extra credit bullet out there. For extra credit, right? I want you to think of how you can automate the recon process, right? And a quick hint is, you know, your mobile devices have some emergency functions for, you know, for 911, right? There are ways where you can say Siri help, and then that phrase to Siri will start to kick off things like a location, and you can modify it if you want. It will start sharing your location. It can send different messages to different individuals. It can make phone calls, right? So think about that. Think about making a copy of that and then modifying that copy to perform recon. So now the only thing that you have to do is, while you're running, instead of pressing a button and asking Siri to play a new song, you can press a button and say recon, and then Siri will open up your maps. Siri will open up a Wi-Fi scanner. Maybe start taking pictures if the camera is like located on your arm. Maybe video, maybe sound. All of this is happening. Another reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's important, right? It's big business too. So much that, and I'm giving a first shout out, so much is that they actually turned it into a TV show years ago. If you haven't seen the TV show, it's called The Hunted. Essentially, it's a show about individuals that are tracking folks that are on the run, and I believe they need to get away. They have 30 days to try to not get caught, and the hunters can only use technology to try to find them. So what I always try to do is to get the brain going, right, with my students and the folks that I'm talking to. I always ask them to think about how they could possibly get away. And I forgot to add the article, but there is an article. Maybe you can use your OSINT skills to find it. There is an article of how the winners actually, there was I believe it was a couple that won $250 because they were able to stay away. So we talk about offense. So we need to talk about the defense and talk about some ways that you can prevent all of this. And a good way to start is to always assume that you're being tracked, but I don't want it to consume you, right? I don't want you to stop living your life, right? Don't be like me sometimes where you're overly paranoid to a point where, like, I'm in class, but I'll shut all the windows and all the blinds because I think someone may be flying a drone to look in my classroom. Yes, that does happen, by the way. People attach Wi-Fi devices, sound recorders, cameras to drones, and they fly the drones around the neighborhood at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. it happens. You can use fake persona. A lot of individuals, they tell me like they want to be online, and I totally understand because, I'm a 20+ year InfoSec professional, and yet I'm an entrepreneur. And it's like, I want you to know who I am, but I don't want you in my business. So people have a hard time identifying what that line is between being available to the public, but not too much, right? So there are some things that you can put in place. Again, talking about it at a high level. Consider, I say the requirement for the app or anything that you install. You have to take into account that anything that you install on your phone could be used to target you, could be used to identify what your location is, where you live, everything that you're doing, things that you're buying, right? Things that you're telling to your kids. I believe we were actually laughing about how we feel that your phone is always listening to you. And if you want to try it, start screaming things at your phone that are like totally obscure. What would be obscure for me? Like Ugg boots, right? And I've only said it once. Now, if I go and open my browser and see some Ugg boots, it's going to really creep me out. No, I said it twice. Ugg boots, that's 3. You don't need to start tracking, your workouts from your front door. I know if you're like me, you want to take credit. You want to get credit for every single step that you take, but, keep your privacy in mind as well. Like when you're out, riding your bike, and, I have a centennial coming up. That's the 100-mile bike ride. So of course I want to track every single kilometer that I take on the bike, but I have to understand that I can't do that for privacy purposes. Also, learn some of these techniques so you can help yourself and help others. Trace Labs, they have a Capture the Flag event. I think it's an amazing event, what they're doing. Essentially, it's a Capture the Flag event that uses open source intelligence to find missing people, right? So, I try to take and bring everything full circle to say that, although some of these techniques are used for malicious purposes, you can use this for good. You can also learn to identify what information that you're putting out there. And you can also learn ways to have a smaller attack surface for yourself, or ways to become invisible online. That was a shout out to Mike Basil on, there are some, how do I say it? There, or material out there that will show you how to become invisible online. All right, so we reached the I'm at 30 something minutes. A couple things I want to do. The first thing is I want to thank Edgar and Salma and the Tactical Edge team for having me. It's been really, really great seeing all of the speakers. The lineup of speakers have been amazing. I'm just really just thrilled, to just be a part of that lineup. I'm hoping that I was able to teach you all something. Hopefully you were able to learn something and also use this knowledge for good so you can help someone out. The last thing that I want to do is kind of a surprise, but I also want to possibly start a new trend in InfoSec, if it's not being done already, and that is to use a little bit of time to acknowledge someone in the industry that's doing some great things, right? So just really quick, I personally, and although we've never met, want to send a shout out to DFR Diva. She scours the internet and provides free resources to those that are new to InfoSec. So if you are new and you want to get a great idea of some free resources to help you learn, go check her out. Her website and Twitter account is on the slide. She's doing great things. DFR Diva, thank you for all you do. All right, and that concludes, my presentation. I am ready for any question you may have.
All righty. Well, wow. I want to see Salma's expression. If you don't mind giving us back the screen there, Tyrone.
Okay, I will stop this.
So that we can all enjoy Salma's expression.
Not really. All the time during your whole presentation, I was like this. Oh my God. So I can have dating apps, I can have fitness apps, I can have, oh my God. I will have to live without my cell phone.
So that I mean, and that is a fantastic thing, and that's part of this conversation, because one of the last slides that you have there, Tyrone, it said, the plain defense. It says, assume you're being tracked, but still live your life.
Definitely.
And we just heard what Salma is saying, which everyone that hears from the first time, with such clarity, you're like, my God, everything I do.
Yes.
I'm living little, Hansel and Gretel. I'm living freaking breadcrumbs so they can come back to me. But you cannot, that's the world that we live in. You can't just shut yourself out.
But how can you prevent or be more aware of not sharing a lot of information? I don't know, how can you do that?
So I mentioned it doesn't have to be you, it doesn't have to be, it can be your face, but it doesn't have to be your name. And then after you meet the person, you can tell them why you used a fake name. You can just say it was for privacy purposes. Like, it's getting to a point where, creepers are using that information, and now they're transferring that to LinkedIn, and now they think LinkedIn, is a dating platform.
Yes.
Right? So
it's true.
2 bits of information, you put your name, and then maybe you accidentally put your college or you put what you do for a living in your profile, it can give you away. Like if Tyrone in tech, if I mention anything about tech or cyber in my profile, they can easily find me.
Exactly. Oh. Now you put in Google and you find everything.
Indeed.
Okay. So the Recon, I mean, we've been in the industry. We, by the way, Differ Diva just thanked you for the shout out.
Okay, yeah.
I tweeted it.
She's watching. Thanks for watching.
I tweeted it, and so she's like, "Whoa, my goodness, imagine."
So that was the thing. The thing was, for this new trend, is to not tell the person.
Okay.
And just have that extra, I want them to be like surprised that they have all this extra attention and they don't know where it's coming from.
All right. That's awesome. That's a really good initiative. Really like that. So hopefully it'll pick up and people will continue. Hey, a good friend of ours, I think Joe Gray.
Joe. I wanted to mention Joe. Joe is one of the best OSINT.
Yeah, I know. I had him in Bogota.
Yeah,
I had him in Bogota doing OSINT training to people there in Bogota, and his workshop was incredible.
Oh yeah.
And it's scary. As I was tweeting here, I'm like, all right, you're like on the 3rd or 4th slide, and I'm already scared. I started thinking, what do I do? What am I doing that is leaving this information out there? But again, I mean, what is the message to Salma and everybody else with that? I mean, what do we do? I mean, we can't just create fake personas for everything. So exactly what?
No, you can't. So what you can do is, one, is to have that awareness. And then two, just try to limit what you're doing and what you're saying, either in text or in conversation, to strangers. They will try to ask you open-ended questions or have open-ended conversations either on the phone or what have you, because it happens to me where they called me and they'll say, hey, is this the owner of so-and-so?
Oh.
Are you Tyrone? Like, you called me.
You called me,
right?
You should know.
You have my number, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they are essentially just trying to confirm that and seeing what your reaction time is and seeing how technically aware you are when it comes to answering these questions. And then also, like, there's a lot of things that I don't tell my family about me because attackers will use your family to get to you. So maybe
third party. Third party.
Yeah, so maybe you don't want to tell your family about a meeting or a conference or the fact that you're traveling somewhere.
The traveling part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a while ago, and when the Fitbit was new, and everyone was wearing it. And one of the presenters, I won't say who, one of the presenters here in Taxi College, I remember that so well, because and in those days the Fitbit used to be connected to Twitter, so it would tweet really quick. I just completed. I just did a 3-mile run or 5-mile run automatically. Right?
Yeah.
This person's tweet was like, I just completed like a 5 centimeter run or something. Oh my God. And people were like, did you fall off your bike? Did you fall off your It was the funniest thing I remember. And at that point I realized, I'm like, oh, wait a second. These things that we take for granted, because right now we take all those things for granted. Our phones, right? When I go walking with my wife, I make sure that I put on pants with pockets so that I can bring my phone, because this is the one that's going to track how many steps I took and how many calories, but that's for me. At the same time, I'm leaving all that trail to everyone now. Now you're freaking me out. Right. Because you do it in a certain times of the day and you set a routine, and now everybody knows. And between this time and this time, Ed goes away and he comes back an hour later. So, right. It's like, man, you have to adjust everything. It's not a way to live, though.
No, it's not. Like, I think about, like, if I go to the park, I know what I can do from my phone, right? And then there's other parents with their kids at the park. But, I give my daughter my iPad, but my iPad has tools on it. Okay. And my iPad is doing things and no one has any idea.
Okay. All right, we won't ask, but before we came on, we were talking to Salma, and the example that you gave about your friend yelling at the phone, whatever he was yelling, and then starts getting ads bombarded on that. And what we were telling Salma is that a lot of the time when every time that you install an application, it doesn't matter what type of application it is, it's going to ask you for 3 things all the time: access to your photos, access to your phone, access to your contact.
Right.
What the heck does, it's like, what does this application have? Anyway.
Yeah.
And so, Salma didn't install it, but her son did. Right. And now that application doesn't care what type of information is gathering from around. So you can be spied on without even being, very conscious. So that's something that I didn't even think about.
We didn't even get into like geotagging or I think there's a program called Geophedia, and they really just do it for, high value targets, say like a dam or the White House or the Pentagon. If you take a picture of, say you take a selfie while you're at the Pentagon and then you post it to Instagram, this program will say, hey, this person took a picture near you or near the Pentagon. Wow. So you can actually purchase that. And let's just say you have an expensive home, you'll be notified when anyone posts a picture near your home on social media, because they could be trying to fake it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You
Yeah.
can take a selfie, but in the background, you're really mapping someone's front door or someone's back door or their car.
All right, right. Trying to be clever about it.
Yeah, I hate that. I don't want to be in the background of anyone's pictures because auto tagging.
So Tyrone, how do you get trained on this? I mean, yes, you were in the military, and I'm going to assume, make some assumptions here, that you had some intelligence training in there, blah, 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 the stuff. But you're in the military, how do you go about getting trained in all of these techniques?
Okay, so it wasn't to that extent. I feel like just about any offensive attacks course, and sometimes some defensive courses, there'll be a portion in there about passive reconnaissance. Like we offer training, and eventually, you know, your evil genius will start to kick in once you see all of the capabilities that a device has. And then you'll start to think like, how can I use this to do something other than what it was meant to do, right?
Okay.
Or you can specifically try to find like a high level OSINT course, like Joe's courses that we just talked about are amazing.
Okay. So it all depends on your, you know, if you want to, how much, like with everything else, how much you want to learn, how much of an expert you want to learn.
Exactly.
But I see everything about OSINT. I mean, OSINT and is SOCMINT, all that stuff is becoming very popular nowadays. And
right. And then it helps because, you know, there are pen test teams that require that OSINT piece.
Yeah.
So if you're good at obtaining information about someone, then you can be a part of the team and not necessarily need to be that technical or the hacker.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You just need to be the face, like in the A
Yeah.
team.
Like you've seen Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 12, right?
Yeah.
Each one of them had a specific thing that they needed to do.
Yeah. Wow, fantastic. So Salma, you scared? Was mission accomplished?
I have to be more aware of the information that I'm sharing, really.
Wow.
I think I share a lot of information and I'm not aware. Now I will have to have my fake profile now.
Yeah, I mean, some people have 20, 30, 40,000 followers. At least one of them is tracking it.
Yeah, you're playing with the odds there.
Yes.
All right, Tyrone.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
for your
it, buddy.
amazing presentation.
Thank you. You all have a great day.
Thanks,
Ira, how you doing?
it.